The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Hello and am I started?
You can do if you want. I'm going to leave that bit in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you never really know, do you, who's listening?
Hello and welcome back to the Potty Plotters Plotcast podcast. This is season...
It's even written there.
It's written. I just think if I write it in, she'll remember. No, she can't read either.
Can I do this bit?
No,
This is season 2, episode 32, and you're Julia and you're Elaine.
Yeah, that's
Thank you,
right.
Gareth. Thank you. That's really helpful. We're going to pot, aren't we?
You are,
Literally.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, since Gareth's jumped in and used at my bit, I'm going to use his bit now.
Oh, go on.
Okay.
Okay then.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Right, so if any of you have got any questions or want to get in touch with us, we love to have questions. We love to tell us how you're getting on your plot. We love pictures, so keep them clean, please.
Yeah, not that sort of picture.
So, yeah, you can contact us via Facebook, Instagram and X, that's Twitter, at Potty Plotters. Email us naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk or check out the website pottyplotters.uk. There you go.
I mean, we're only about a minute and a half into this.
Yeah.
Have I gone wrong? Or?
No. But obviously we've had some comedy moments already. So if you would like us to carry on producing these comedy moments and you'd like to support us in doing so by giving us a tip to go for some comedy lessons, then you can leave us a tip at kofi.com/thepottyplotters. That's ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. And we'll say things like we'll love you forever and give you like virtual hugs and stuff. But what we'll actually do is spend it on coffee.
That's not a bad thing.
I think we need it, don't we? Well, I do anyway, to get me alert and know what I'm doing.
You should have had
today.
a coffee. I mean, I've made you a tea, but you could have had a coffee. You know that, don't you?
Nice.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Right, what we're going to talk about
Right,
then?
Elaine. First of all, let's talk about squashes and pumpkins because we are seeing a lot on the plots now. You're seeing, actually, I use Jerry's path to get to my plot. It's a shortcut. I pay the toll. I make him cups of tea. You know, I give him the occasional biscuit and all kinds of things. Yeah, tomatoes. And he lets me use his path. And Jerry is actually growing some giant pumpkins, and I've never seen him grow pumpkins before, but he's letting them trail across the path at the moment, which is very inconvenient when I've got stuff to carry up to my plot. But how will he know?
How inconsiderate of him to let stuff grow across his path.
His own path, I know. Think about it, really, didn't he? I mean, we've told him enough times that you can pick them up and move them in the direction that you want them to go in. So anybody who's listening who has this problem, you can either nip the end off where it's trailing from, or you can just pick it up and move it and send it in another direction. So, Jerry, if you are listening, please do that. Move it off the path.
Does that pick up the actual pumpkin or pick up the plants?
Plant. You can pick up the plant. And actually, what you should also be doing, Jerry, if you are listening, and also other people...
Does he actually listen?
No.
Can't put a computer on, never mind this.
But somebody might be able to tell him, and anyone else who's listening, is if you've got pumpkins or squashes and they're growing on the ground and it's growing on the soil, what do you need to do, Elaine?
Lift it. So, for instance, I put mine on a slab, or you can put it on anything like that, tile, just to lift it and keep it off the wet. That's the most important thing.
Why do you need to do that?
Because it can rot from that side. The other thing is that what I used to do when I used to grow the big ones is turn them if you can, because then you get the sun at them, and so you get an all-round colour rather than just half of a colour or a big patch.
And actually, referring back to last week's episode when we were talking about shows, that is something we do when we handling the big pumpkins and squashes. We pick them up and turn them round, and usually you can see where people have left them sat, because that bit is a bit more yellow.
And it's the same with the marrows as well.
Absolutely.
Do you remember? I mean, people think that judges are daft. Believe you me, we're not. No, because all you do is you turn everything. So sometimes, I mean, that is funny. We're going back to that now, aren't we?
Yeah.
When people have tried to hide little holes or scuffs or scab or whatever, we'll find it, won't we? It's like a competition in itself, isn't it? Let's find the difficulty bit.
But as you say, you should always handle the vegetables. So, and that's what we do. But that is another tip for people, not only in terms of turning them, because if you want to enter a show, but also it will stop them rotting if you lift them off the ground.
Definitely.
So
Well, Julia, before you carry on, I just wanted, in fact, I'll see if I can get a photograph of Eric's construction.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Now, that is causing people to stop on the plot and take photographs.
It is impressive, isn't it?
Like a tourist attraction.
Well, yeah.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah. So Eric's got 3 wooden bays at the front of his plot where he's had his compost in and his horse muck that he has dropped in.
Yeah.
And he's obviously growing his squash out of the horse muck and compost. And then he's almost created a kind of archway structure. But he's got loads of different
I was talking
squashes growing up and down it, hasn't he?
And Jackie was saying that's his wife. She was dead pleased because...
Is this Pam and Derek?
Yes, Pam and Derek, who actually are...
Eric and Jackie, yeah.
Yeah, dear me. So what happens is that they've put this trellis work together that's like a triple arch, and they've got all these different types of squashes, and Jackie was dead pleased with it because she said that you can see them hanging from the arches, and actually it does look lovely, Julia.
Yeah.
My concern is that there's one on the left that's massive. I don't know what make it
might
is.
Snap off?
Yeah.
Do you think it needs a hammock?
A bra.
You could put it under a hammock.
You could see what we can do, but it is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the good thing about it is that all of the fruits are off the floor.
Yeah.
So not a problem. And I tell you what, they've all been pollinated properly.
Yeah.
So a huge variety of different ones. Whereas I, if you remember, did just my little ones.
Yes.
Was it Little Munchkin?
Yeah. How are they doing?
Well, they look bigger than Munchkins, actually. I know.
Have you got the seeds confused?
No, because you took them out
I can confuse
of the plant.
anything, really.
You took them out of the plant there.
I did, but it'll be interesting to see. There's one that's rogue. It is not a little munchkin at all. It looks like quite a big squash, so I don't know what on earth that is. But let's wait and see. It's
Perhaps
been
they
a
were
funny year.
cross-pollinated with something else.
I don't know.
And then it's passed down to this generation of things. So.
Well, we'll see in the end, won't we?
Well, I'm just growing butternut this year. Previous years I've grown
loads, crown prince and everything.
I've grown different ones, but we weren't using them, and actually I use butternut squash more than anything, so I thought, right, I'm going to do more of those. They're growing quite happily away on the plot, so how will I know when they're ready, Elaine?
The butternut squash?
Well, the butternut squash and the pumpkins.
Well, usually it's the colour. That's the first thing that gives it away. So if you've got an onion squash, they're bright orange and they look like a drawing that a child's done, I think, of a pumpkin, in that they are the wrong shape because they are onion shaped, but they are bright orange, quite vibrant, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's what I would always look for, and the size. But you also look for the little knobby bit. What is that called? The stalky bit.
The stalk, yeah.
Because that starts to wither, doesn't it?
Yeah, it withers away from the main stem, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's a telltale sign. And again, always keep that on the fruit when you take it. Don't cut it right next to the fruit itself. Leave that knobby bit. Well, the stalk actually is about 3 inches worth, isn't it?
The longer that you can leave, the better.
Yeah.
And also another tip, because I've done it, is don't pick them up by the stalk, because then the fruit can drop off quite easily.
I've seen that. I've seen it when we've gone to pumpkin farms, at that time of year, and people pick them up by that.
Well, we're only like 6 weeks away from Halloween anyway, so it may feel that we're talking about it too soon, with it being sort of mid-September. And we know that during September the weather's all up and down and all over the place, and we can get some really hot days, and obviously it starts to become more autumnal. But it's quite timely that we're talking about this, because obviously we spoke to Mandy a few weeks ago for National Allotment Week, and we'd like people to send in pictures of their pumpkins, and not necessarily the carved version. We want to be able to see them before you take all the flesh and all the skin and stuff off them. So get your pictures into us when they're ready.
I mean, I think it's a great thing. It's fun for the kids to do, to carve them. But actually, they are a really useful vegetable because they do store extremely well. They'll store over about a 6-month period, which is great. And they taste really nice. They're really, if people haven't tasted them, they're quite versatile in different dishes. But of course, there are varieties that are more suitable for eating and more suitable for carving. I mean, at the Derby County plot that we've been helping with, they've got a variety called Goosebumps, which I think is brilliant for kids. Because it's all knobbly and horrible looking, but it's like real Halloweeny looking. Whereas, of course, if you want one for carving, the perfect ones are the onion squashes and the crown princes and the tasting. They're beautiful for cutting up and using in your soups and things.
I still think it's a shame, though. I mean, I do like to do that, but I still think it's a shame that there's so many people out there who are hungry.
Yeah.
And actually, it roasted is scrumptious, but making it into soup to store in the freezer, going back to that, it's so easy, and it makes it a lot of cheap meals, doesn't it? So why not?
Yeah.
But so coming back to it, Julia, you know, when they've got the fruit on, so you've got loads of pumpkins all over the place, is there anything particular we should do if the leaves start to go a bit peculiar?
Well, what I've been doing, because I've noticed there's a lot of powdery mildew on some of them. Now, you can create your own mix to start to remove that. So you can mix water with some milk, and I think it's baking soda they recommend, and then just spray it onto the plant. But what I tend to do is the leaves that are worst affected on the plant, I just cut them off and cut them back to the main stem.
Yeah.
Just because you remove the leaf, you remove the part of the problem. And we're not that far off from harvesting time, really.
No, because if it's only a few weeks, as Gareth said, it makes a lot of sense, actually, doesn't it? And then let the sun get at it, because we haven't got a lot of light days left.
Yeah.
So the more that they can actually get at it, the better, isn't it?
And I have seen people who are having problems with the plants themselves, and let's face it, everything seems to have had a problem this year, where they've actually had to take them off the plant where they're underripe. Well, you can ripen things off the plant. Just make sure that they are in sunny conditions, warm conditions, and then when you come to store them over the winter, you just want to put them somewhere where it's frost free, somewhere where the mice and the rats and everything can't get to them, and they'll happily save over the winter. So I love them. But I'm going to give you a quick tip here. A lot of them are quite hard to peel. So what it's easier to do is to just roast them with the skin on, and then you can get the skin off quite easily. If you
I'm
roast
just
them.
looking amazed that you remembered something, Julia.
Thanks, Elaine.
It's okay.
The same qualify for butternut squash.
Yeah. In fact, I eat the skin of squash.
Because butternut squash is traditionally very difficult to take off, and you can get through a potato peeler quite easily with it.
Yeah.
So,
and your hand.
Yeah. No, not tried that. Just you again. So if you roast it, you can take it off that way.
Yeah. It's much easier, because then it's literally you just scoop it out and the flesh the skin comes away. But I do like the flesh and the skin on butternut squash, and I like eat it all. Good roughage for you.
Oh, here we go.
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Now, Elaine, I'm just looking out of Gareth's window, because we're still at Gareth's house, and I'm also thinking back to what Thelma was talking about with the bees last week, and of course she was mentioning salvias. And I'm looking at Gareth's got a camellia there, and I'm thinking, you know, we could be taking cuttings. Now we could be taking cuttings of all these things.
Don't tell her.
Yeah.
To make more plants.
Now. Well, it makes sense, because they're all for free then, aren't they?
And that's what we like. And thinking ahead, as we all are already doing, we're thinking about the groups that we go out and support. We give plants away and everything else. Why not be taking cuttings now? So you can be taking semi-ripe cuttings now.
What does that mean when people say semi-ripe? Because that's like having an orange, isn't it? Or an apple that's semi-ripe. Means it's nearly ready.
Right. So perfect. So salvias, lavenders, rosemary, perfect time to be taking semi-ripe cuttings. So all you're doing, you're taking a long cutting, I would say about 10 inches, and then on the piece that you've taken the cutting off, the end bit will be new growth, so that will be quite bendy, and then the other end will be quite hard, because that's hardwood, and then in between there's almost that bit where you can see it turning from kind of softwood to harder wood. Now that is where the semi-ripe cutting is taken. So
that's the phrase. That's where it comes from.
That's where it's coming from.
Okay.
So go past the hardwood bit up until the semi-ripe, and then you strip all the leaves off that bottom part of it, and then you can snip the top off your semi-ripe cutting, and all you then need to do is pop it into some cutting compost suitable for cuttings. Now, if you've not got compost that's suitable for cuttings, you can make your own almost by just using multi-purpose compost and mixing it with about 50% perlite, because what you want is a nice open compost so that the cutting isn't sitting in lots of water. But you can just get seed compost, seed and cutting compost is what they call it, which is perfect for this. And then all you do, like I say, you are stripping the bottom leaves off.
Yeah.
And then you can either use a rooting hormone if you want to dip it into one of them, or you shouldn't really need to do that, but then you can pop it into the compost. Now, on the edge of your plant pot, you will plant the cuttings around the edge, so touching the pot itself rather than in the centre of the pot. And you put these around the edge, so you can get about 4 or 5 in a square pot of about 7 centimetres. So that's perfect. And then what we do, once we've dibbed a hole, we drop the cutting into the hole, and we've got about 6 or 7 in there. We water it, and then we're not going to water it again. We don't want to overwater anything. All we'll be doing is feeding water from the bottom if we need any extra water. But you want to then put it somewhere that's warm but not in direct sunlight.
Okay.
Now, this is a patience thing.
So it's all not in the dark?
No.
Okay.
So you could put it in your greenhouse, but you want it somewhere that's shaded.
Not heat.
Not heat. Now, initially, it will need something that will retain the moisture a little bit in it. So you can put it in like a propagator, or we could put one of the plastic bags over the top. But what I would say with the plastic bag is you're going to have to keep removing that every day or so to stop that condensation building up, because when that condensation builds up, that will create mouldy conditions as the cutting is developing. So you need to keep removing all that excess moisture. So it's better if you can do it in a propagator.
So do you have to do it? I mean, that sounded very complicated if you haven't got everything. Yeah. Could you just not stick the bit in some water in a glass?
You can do, but this is already rooting. If you do it in a jar of water, it might rot a little bit because it's sat in the water.
I'm just wondering if it would root automatically.
Or we could try it. I'll do it my way, you do it your way.
Okay, let's have a go.
And we'll do the same one. But it's not complicated. It is kind of trying to describe it. And I meant to bring something to, actually, but I didn't want to make a mess on Gareth's table, to be fair. Because if I'd have done a cutting in front of you, it'd have been a right mess. Won't like that, will it? So, but it's not hard to do. But it is a patient thing, because remember, it's going to put on roots before it puts on new top growth. Yeah. So your method, yes, you'll be able to see the roots growing. My method, you won't be able to see the roots growing. So you may be waiting about 6 to 8 weeks before you start to see any new growth, and especially as we're going towards the end of the year. But it's certainly a really good way of creating more plants of the plants that you love or want to give away. Problems.
I know, there's quite a few of them about, aren't there?
Well, we can't solve them all, Elaine.
But what about those on the allotment?
On the allotment? Oh, well, what problems have you seen on the allotment?
Well, I've had a problem with my cucumbers.
Have you?
Yeah.
What's the matter with them?
Powdery mildew.
Have you?
Yeah. Gone crinkly, wrinkly, and very, very, an interesting sound effect, I think it's fair to say.
So what have you done about it?
I've taken them down.
Completely?
Yeah, I've just got one plant left. Everything else I've taken out. And why? Because it's that time of year. It's the middle of September now, and I thought, for the sake of it, it isn't worth this. Okay. So it's in one greenhouse. But I thought, no, I'm taking them out because they've had a good run. They've given me loads of cucumbers.
Despite them being the wrong variety.
Yeah, that was all very odd, wasn't it? But definitely I thought, no, No, there comes a time, Julia, when enough is enough.
So when you've said you've left one, why have you left one? Was that not affected by it?
I don't know if it is or not, but I'll find out when I get back up the plot later on today, because I didn't know whether it was or not. It's got loads of young cucumbers on, and I thought, oh, I've got plenty of time for them to develop yet. Whereas the others, it looked like most of them had finished. Some were still flowering, but I thought, no, they haven't got time to develop and have little baby cucumbers, so no, they've got to go. So unfortunately for them, that's it. That's how I dealt with it.
So that's your advice.
It's got to go.
That's how I dealt with it.
So that's your advice. Just rip them out. Rip them out.
Yeah, that deals with the problem, doesn't it? So brutal, but gone.
Okay.
So that's what I've done. I haven't grown. I've grown loads of pumpkins and squashes and stuff, but they're all looking really well. So I'm all right with them. What about you? You've had some rust, haven't you, love?
I've had rust on the antirrhinums, the ones that we did very early in the season. So I've had plenty of cuttings. The snapdragons, I've had loads of cuttings off them, but now they are taking quite a battering with rust. So what I've done is I have taken them out because there's nothing I can really do to resolve that problem. However,
she got rid.
However, I have got some more growing down the side of the polytunnel, which is a bit more shaded, and they look quite healthy. So I think rather than trying to keep one plant going over a season, next year what I shall do is a succession of sowings, so that actually they're okay, they're healthier, and I've got new plants coming through. Because I think the reason that they have really got rust is the fact that we've had such a wet season, and that will encourage rust, and also I planted them at what I thought was quite a big spacing, but they probably needed more of a spacing between them for airflow.
I don't know, because I planted mine between the straw flowers and the cosmos, and I was looking at them, and they looked all right, actually. I haven't had any, so I don't know whether or not it's airborne. Well, obviously it is
airborne,
but I don't know where you've got it from. Have you got any leeks?
I have got leeks, but they're not affected by it. So
that don't make sense, does it?
Yeah, but I think antirhinums are prone to rust, so it's just next year I'll just do it a little bit differently and see if I can combat it there. Going back to your powdery mildew problem, I have had a little bit of a problem on the melons with powdery mildew, and all I've done is the leaves that have been affected, I've been cutting them off and cutting back to the main stem, and it seems to keep it under control. Now, as long as you are leaving some green leaf there for photosynthesis, then actually the plant has been fine and they've been quite happy, and it keeps reappearing, but then I just snip the next leaves off.
Photosynthesis, you can say that, but she has trouble saying season.
Strange, isn't it? If I wrote it down, she'd be any better with it. I don't know. So, spider mite then?
Oh, spider mite.
It's your favourite thing.
Spider mite.
Yeah, spider mite, yeah.
I'd never heard of spider mite till I met Julia.
Yeah, so spider mite, I mean, the real name is red spider mite, but they're not always red, so that's a bit of a trick. No, I think they're kind of more like a chameleon. They change colour, I think. Oh. But spider mite is a problem generally with the aubergines.
With anything else? Is it just the aubergine? I've never seen it on anything else, I don't think. Aubergines
and cucumbers and the melons, it will go for all of them. It will go for a lot of plants, actually, and it will go for your flowers. It will go for the dahlias if you... I
don't think it will. I don't think it will, because I don't think she'll let it.
No, get rid.
But they will create problems on dahlias if they spread. But,
I never knew that.
I think because they are outside and because of the wet conditions that they've not been suited to the spider mite outside. The spider mite seem to run riot when it's dry conditions. What are you laughing at?
Just thinking they're in a party.
Well, they are having a party.
Come on down.
Party on the aubergines.
Yeah, I mean, it's the aubergines that you see them on first. And I know that some nurseries, they actually put aubergines in with all the other plants. And it's almost like an early warning signal.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's almost like sending a canary down the pits. Isn't that what they used to do? Isn't that what they used to do? They did used to do that, didn't they?
Yeah.
See
if there was any air or...
Yeah, and that's almost what you're doing with an aubergine. If there's spider mites, they'll go for the aubergine first.
Just got visions of your chicken. How is your chicken, love?
Still wandering around the close. I'll be laying eggs soon anyway, that's good. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So how do you get rid of spider mite?
Right. So spider mite, you can take a preemptive strike and you can introduce some natural controls. So predators that will naturally prevent them taking root in your polytunnel or greenhouse. However, the difficulty is it's a bit of a gamble, that's quite expensive. Oh. So I've kind of gambled this year and hoped that I wasn't going to get them, but they did come. So what I did with the aubergines was I started again to cut the leaves off, cut the ones off that are most infected. And in removing the leaves that are most infected, it removes a lot of the inhabitants that are on the leaf, so that gets rid of it. And literally one of the aubergines, I've almost stripped it down to 1 or 2 new leaves on each stem. And I have to report, it seems to have it under control. So, you know, it is working at the moment. Another thing that you need to do is raise the humidity levels of those plants that are affected by them. But it had travelled a little bit onto the cucumbers as well. But again, I've cut the leaf back to the main stem. Don't be afraid of cutting leaves off, because if they're really badly infected, they start to go really yellow and crumply like the ones that you were talking about. So they're not doing anything for the benefit of the plant. So just cut them off. And almost cucumbers can look like stems of tomatoes, you know, when you take all the leaves off. You can do exactly the same with cucumbers.
Just leave them hanging.
Yeah.
See, I was just thinking, where do they go during the winter?
Oh, they obviously overwinter somewhere in the polytunnel.
I think we could be asking. I wonder if Mr. Nematode, Chris Holden, knows.
Oh.
I think it's time for a phone call.
Okay, you do it. So yes, it's been, these are the challenges we face on an allotment though, isn't it? That, you know, we get all these infestations and things that we have to deal with. And I think possibly more so than you would at home, because these things do travel a lot more on allotment sites because you've got similar growing conditions on neighbouring plots.
Yeah, whereas people, I suppose, garden, they have flowers and all kinds of bits and pieces, might intermingle some veg, but predominantly ours are veg, aren't they? But I don't know. I mean, I just think when it comes down to it that there are a lot of problems and winter is the time to sort them out.
Yeah.
So what I think a lot of new people need to do as well is to realise that this is a time for a rest. And I remember talking to Jan, who was a starter plotter with us a few years ago. And I said to her, because she was very keen to do overwinter peas, overwinter broad beans, I said, the thing is, you've got to be up here still to look after them. Yeah. So you still need to net them to keep the snow off. You're going to be crying when everything's wet. She was talking about onions, and I remember her doing the onions. And I said, but, you know, think very carefully. Do you actually want 8 weeks off? Yeah. Or plan? Yeah. And realistically, I would actually rather have the time off and plan and then work out what I'm going to do in the spring. And I'll tell you why, Julia, because if you stand any length of time on the soil over winter, it's blooming cold.
It is cold.
And it makes you miserable, to be quite honest.
And like you say, you've still got to protect it against everything, haven't you? So, you know, we've got the flooding issues. I mean, we fell foul of plant having a go at doing the sweet peas over winter. And all we had to do then was fend off the mice, and they beat us this year. So, you know, it's hard to justify doing a lot on the plot other than the maintenance over the winter months.
Yeah, and if everybody's had a good harvest and done what Gareth had done last week, freeze everything, then it should keep you in veg from the freezer right the way through until we start again. So it'll be interesting to see, but don't be ashamed in that if you want some time off, have some time off, and I think that does everybody some good.
Yes.
So Jan, if you are listening, it's okay. Pack everything away.
Yeah, put your feet up.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Now then, Kitchen Garden magazine, what's this?
Well, I don't know how many people know that you were in Woman's Weekly. Now then, I've been looking for the what? Gareth almost spoke then.
Yeah.
It's not a speaking part for you, Gareth. Yes. So Julia is in Woman's Weekly, and we heard about it from other people.
Yes.
And so,
You mean
of
you
course,
didn't know?
No. And so I've been looking everywhere for it.
Have you not found it?
No.
No, I've not found it either.
No.
I've seen it online. And
Yeah.
Jan sent me a photograph of it, which was
Yeah.
very nice of it.
Yeah.
Nice of her. But it's an interview that I did quite a while ago for
Yeah,
a
in the
different
summer, wasn't it?
magazine.
Yeah.
Oh, they've cross-pollinated the content.
They're cross-pollinated. So in the end, there wasn't room in the original magazine. So they obviously shared it with a sister magazine, and was in that.
So coming soon to any doctor's waiting rooms near you.
Julia's on the front cover, actually.
Am I?
Yes, yeah, with that bloke, that actor person.
I mean, that narrows it down. Let me just go to the encyclopedia of actors.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Martin Kemp?
Oh, hark at you! Oh, yes, it might have been actually.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah.
Martin Kemp, that
yeah.
well-known actor that's actually more known as a singer.
Spandau Ballet. Don't you remember Spandau Ballet from the 80s?
What did they sing?
True. Gold.
It's one of the worst songs
Gold.
ever.
Oh, really?
Through the barricades. Oh, I can reel them off.
Tell you what, Pop Master, eat your heart out. Yeah.
5-minute toilet break is true by Spandau Ballet, everybody.
Way.
Yeah, well, there you go. So Julia was in that, and
His son presents the One Show.
I don't watch that.
Anyway.
So what's the Kitchen Garden
Kitchen
magazine?
Garden magazine. So I thought, oh well, we'll chuck this one in as well. So we started having the Kitchen Garden magazine forever ago,
Yeah.
and we liked them a lot because we like their articles, we like how they write, and they're very informative for people who are allotmenteers. So anybody who needs a Christmas present,
yes,
that's what I'd
subscription, yeah.
definitely. And you get free seeds every month, usually 3 packs,
Wow.
and they're all relevant to the time of year. That's what I like. And then it tells you what to do with them, when to plant them, etc., etc. So,
brilliant.
you know, it is literally hand to mouth, get in there. However, I just wanted to say as well that they, this month, September, are publishing an article that we wrote as well.
I wonder how long it'd take you to get to that.
Yes, anything
I like
you
how
can
they
do.
write. I like the words they use. They give away free stuff. Oh,
And
by the
I
way,
like
we're in
us.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're in it, writing about Derby County.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And I passed it through my husband first of all. I said, "Can you proofread this?" And actually, he laughed out loud.
Did he?
Honestly, yeah. Yeah.
Well, we did
because-
have fun working with them, didn't
Well,
we?
we did. But what I did was I wrote the whole article in football jargon.
Crikey, you know football jargon.
No, that's what made it so funny. So
So he had to change a lot of it, didn't he?
So no.
Back of the nets.
No, it was a foul day. I think that's how it
a
started.
foul day
Do
it
you get
was.
me?
Well, we
Yeah.
had many foul days.
It
when
was.
We
We were pulled off the subs
Yeah.
bench,
Yeah.
straight into the championship division. I think, you know,
Red card.
that's how it is. Yes,
yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, all I can say, listeners, is that over the last, 5 or 6, 7 years, while I've known Elaine, we've always seemed to end up with a project over the winter months. And every year we say, it's just too much over the winter months. We've worked in snow, we've worked in sleet, we've worked in hurricanes, but because we've had things planned or something being delivered, we've had to stick with it. No, we're not doing it again. What did we do this year? Derby County's plot.
yeah, 2.
But it was lovely.
It was. We started a year ago, actually.
Was it?
Yep. But we've achieved it, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought we will write about the community. So, if you've got a plot out there or an area, a garden, and you work on it with a community, my question to you is, why do you do it?
Yes.
Because it's blooming hard work. So who is it that benefits from it? So that's a little serious note from us, actually.
Yeah.
But it is important to find out where these people are and why they do so much, because we know how much hard work goes into it.
Yeah.
Get in touch. Write to Gareth, because he's got nothing else to do, have you?
No. But it's not just Kitchen Garden magazine you're in as well, is it? I mean, there's others. Well, obviously, Women's Weekly we've mentioned
yes,
as well.
yeah.
But you also write for a local magazine.
Yeah, Derbyshire Life, we write for them.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting on that one because we don't really know the editor. So when I wrote all about Julian's melons, I had to put a little footnote to it. Yeah, dear Nathan. It went like that, really. Yeah. So I think he's getting used to us now. It's taken a little bit, but I tell you what, I bet he sweats as soon as he sees that email bounce
Know how
through.
he feels.
Hints and tips for shortcuts to success. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Well, we better wind this up, Elaine, because aren't we going to do some presenting?
Yes, we've got prizes to do. So
Yeah, not as in presenting, as in like the one show or anything like that.
Well, I mean, the way they're getting through presenters at the moment, you could be next on the list.
Ooh, controversial.
Yeah, don't
No,
mind
we're
that.
doing presenting. We're giving out trophies and things,
Yeah.
aren't we, for a biggest cucumber and all that kind of thing.
That would be funny, wouldn't it, if we dropped one?
What, a cucumber? or a
Prize.
or a prize?
Let's see. Have you got your tape measure with you? Well, I have. Anyway, next week we're going to be talking about wildlife.
Are we?
Because I thought,
Are we having a party on the plot?
well, I'll tell you what we're not talking about. Your chicken and your pig. Goodbye, everybody.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters is an Amberland Media production.